For most mysteries, paranormal explanations are not high on the list of possibilities, but on occasion, the paranormal will be the most fitting answer to something which remains unexplained. Number 5. After decades of being known as an old haunted house, the Cahill Mansion in Gulf Point, Mississippi, suddenly burst into flames just after 1 p.m. on the 28th of July, 1970. Fire crews were unable to save the mansion, which had been built in 1915. Gone in the flames was any answer to the mystery of what exactly had been causing the paranormal activity in the mansion for all these years. Cahill Mansion first gained a paranormal reputation during World War II. It was leased by the Air Force as a non-commissioned officers club, where it turned into a hub of illegal gambling and prostitution. Many of the ghosts would later linger at the mansion and were said to be the spirits of the prostitutes who lost their lives at the club. After the war, the mansion was bought by the Cahill family, who would lend the building their name from that point onwards. More tragedy struck when Richie Cahill got into a tractor accident on the property and passed away on the way to the hospital. The Gregorys were the final owners of the mansion. By the time it came into their possession, rumors of the paranormal had already spread around the local community, but most of the paranormal activity would be recorded during their stay. Mrs. Gregory reported that she never felt alone within the house. She and her children would frequently see different apparitions. One in particular was that of a young boy, who some believed to be the spirit of Richie Cahill. One of the Gregory children reported he saw the ghost boy creeping out of his closet in the middle of the night. The boy left the room, and when the Gregory child followed him out, there was no sign of him. Guests to the Cahill mansion also spotted the boy. One woman was on the phone in the kitchen when she saw a boy watching her. She scolded the boy for eavesdropping and returned to her call. It was only later that she realized there had been no boy in the house at the time, and she was able to identify him via an old photo of Richie Cahill. Most disturbing for the family were the frequent fires. On one occasion, Mrs. Gregory and her son walked into his room just in time to see his jacket spontaneously combust without explanation. Another time, Mrs. Gregory came home from shopping only to find a red candle lit beneath the kitchen sink. She accused the maid of trying to burn the house down, but the maid said she'd seen the same candle lit there earlier that day. She extinguished the flame and put the candle in the sink. Many paranormal researchers were invited to the house, the most notable of which was David Bubar. Bubar held seances and claimed to have spirits speak through him. One spirit claimed the only way the ghost could be released was if the building burned down. They said they would burn the mansion down before they let it be torn down. Sure enough, planned demolitions were delayed. Some sources claim on the day of one planned demolition, the contractor died of a heart attack. The mansion did burn down before it could be bulldozed. However, the paranormal mystery becomes somewhat less mysterious after it was discovered a few years later that Bubar had orchestrated a fire at a factory he'd predicted would burn down. There's no evidence Bubar had anything to do with the Cahill fire, and if he did, that doesn't explain the other mysteries that surround the mansion. Number 4. The Skinwalker Ranch in Utah is possibly one of the most paranormal locations on the planet. Everything from mysterious creatures to ghosts and UFOs have been reported in and around the ranch, and so far, no explanation has been found. The paranormal activity was first reported by Terry and Gwen Sherman, who owned the ranch between 1994 and 1996. However, stories of paranormal activity in the area date back much further than that. Skinwalker Ranch is located near the Ute Indian Reservation. According to local legend, a dispute between the Ute and Navajo people centuries ago led to the Navajo placing a curse on the land and unleashing skinwalkers into the area. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of evidence to back this, but paranormal activity is believed to date back to at least the time of Spanish missionaries entering the area. Since then, there have been stories of strange activities and creatures. The ranch itself seems to have become a hub for much of the activity. For 60 years, the Myers family lived on the ranch without any problems. But when the Shermans took over ownership in 1994, strange cases began to happen. They reported a giant, red-eyed beast that attacked their livestock. It couldn't be hurt even when struck with a bullet. Orbs and strange lights were seen in the sky above the ranch, and poltergeist activity was reported in the buildings. The couple told the papers their story, and since then, the ranch has attracted attention from around the world. In 1996, billionaire Robert Bigelow bought the ranch with the intentions of properly investigating the phenomenon. He had created his own research team, which included a retired Army intelligence officer, as well as scientists. Usually, in cases of paranormal activity, things seem to stop when put under scrutiny, leaving people believing that those that claimed to experience the activity had been making it up. But in the ranch's case, activity continued as researchers tried to understand it, as well as the strange activity the Shermans had reported. Recording equipment was hid, usually at crucial times, leaving the intelligence officer working on the case to say that it was as if the spirits there knew what they were going to do before they did it. In 2016, Brandon Fugel took ownership, and the research continued. Scientists from nearby universities have been invited to try to explain the electromagnetic phenomenon at the site, but no explanation has been found. It's possible that there is a natural cause to the activity. There are other places around the world where fluctuations in the magnetosphere around the Earth cause unusual things, and it's possible some undetected anomaly is responsible for the activity at Skinwalker Ranch. But those who have investigated the ranch have reported the phenomenon following them home, so it may be more than physics alone can explain. Number 3. Between 1930 and 1990, hundreds of motorists and residents of a London suburb witnessed a mysterious phantom double-decker bus in the middle of the night. Night buses were already a thing in London in the 1930s, but they were few and far between, and the number 7 between Oxford Circus and East Acton in West London was not one of those scheduled to be running through the night. So it must have been strange for the motorist who spotted the red double-decker bus at 1:15 a.m. one night in 1934. Even stranger was that the bus was speeding towards him in the middle of the road. All of the lights were on both decks of the bus, but there were no passengers and no driver. The man swerved to avoid the bus, mounted the pavement, and collided with the wall, but thankfully was unhurt. When he turned to look back at the strange bus, he found nothing there. He testified to police about what he had seen. They were, of course, skeptical, but over the following years and decades, hundreds more people would come forward with the same story. The road in question was notoriously dangerous. St. Mark's Road, near Ladbroke Grove Tube Station, features numerous junctions. One in particular, with Cambridge Gardens, was blind on both roads, leading to many accidents. It was near here where the sightings of the phantom bus always occurred, and they always occurred at 1:15 a.m. In one tragic case, the driver swerved to avoid the bus and hit a wall, where the car burst into flames. In the inquest that followed, dozens of residents came forward claiming to have seen the bus and blaming it for the tragic accident. One of the witnesses was a local transport official. He was the only person to have seen the bus away from St. Mark's Road. He claimed to have seen the vehicle in the nearby depot in the early hours of the morning. It was standing with its engine on for a while before it disappeared. Sightings of the paranormal bus continued up until 1990, when the road there was straightened out. The number of accidents was greatly reduced, and the only buses that have been seen on the road since have been the regularly scheduled local services, complete with drivers. Number 2. In 1996, Police at a local sheriff's office in Kitsap County, Washington, received a strange call from a panicked man. The man started out the call by claiming someone or something was crawling around outside of his house and requested assistance. He was alerted to whatever was in his backyard by the sensor light being turned on, illuminating his garden and the mysterious creature as it was running across the yard. He lost sight of the creature and told the dispatcher he had no idea where it had gone. But as the call goes on, he spots the creature again. The man's fear is clear in his voice as he describes the creature as 5'9" and looking right at him. When the dispatcher tries to confirm that this was actually a person, the man clearly isn't sure, but he says it's something really big. The 911 call was released to the public and has now become famous. Unlike other Bigfoot or cryptid sightings, the man makes no effort to claim this was something paranormal. His only insistence is that it's much bigger than anything he wants to tackle on his own. It's been described as the most believable Bigfoot audio by cryptozoologists, although there are certainly some skeptics. Many have suggested the creature the man saw was in fact a black bear on its hind legs. While it seems odd he wouldn't have been able to recognize the creature if it was normal wildlife, it's reasonable enough given it was late at night, especially if he was already spooked by something. But the nearest population of black bears to Kitsap is about 180 miles away, with a major population center in between. The call alone is creepy enough, but this wasn't the first time this caller had contacted police about something unusual. A few weeks earlier, he had called police to say something strange was going on and his dog had been attacked. The man said his dog had been thrown into the air by something, and he doesn't know how it did it. In this case, the dispatcher seemed skeptical. Again, the caller didn't claim it was anything supernatural, but simply that he couldn't explain it. The caller has never been publicly identified, but was interviewed by a Bigfoot researcher, Ron Moorhead. If this was a simple misidentification of a wild animal, it's strange the caller hasn't come forward to clear up the confusion. Instead, we're just left with this scary mystery. Number 1. Bell Island in Newfoundland and Labrador has no shortage of paranormal activity and local legends. The 34-square-foot island is home to about 3,000 people, a spiderweb of minds, and a supposed population of cruel fairy creatures. In terms of the paranormal, the ghosts of many miners who have passed away in accidents deep below the ground are said to linger there, as is the ghost of a woman who was supposedly attacked by German U-boat sailors during the Second World War. The story goes that she was taken by the Germans to the marshes where the fairy creatures live. Though her cries for help were heard by the villagers, they feared it was a crucial trick by the fairies and ignored her. Away from the folklore, though, there is a real mystery that has never been explained. The Bell Island boom occurred at exactly 11 a.m. on April 2nd, 1978. It was a massive explosion that caused damage to many buildings and properties on the island. Television sets nearby blew apart. Blue flames shot from electrical outlets, and residents saw blue balls of light 3 feet across, cracking with orange sparks. The incident itself lasted less than a second, but the shock remained behind. One of the residents discovered her entire flock of chickens had perished in the incident, though there doesn't seem to have been any human casualties. 2 small craters about 2 feet deep and 3 feet wide were discovered, as well as a third, smaller hole nearby. Scientists from Canada and the US descended on the island to try to explain the incident. Among those were Dr. Warren and Dr. Freeman from Los Alamos. Given the Cold War was still ongoing at the time, there was speculation that the incident may have been a weapons test. The conspiracy theories weren't helped when, according to a local scientist, the Los Alamos duo claimed to have detected the event using military satellites, and they were surprised there was so little damage. Some have speculated, rather than nuclear, the weapon was an electromagnetic pulse weapon, using the iron core on the island, though this has been dismissed. More recently, another boom was heard in 2019, though this was easily explained as a rock breaking away from the northern part of the island. However, if this was the case in 1978, none of the geologists, geophysicists, or physicists that investigated the phenomenon noticed. The official verdict was a super bolt of lightning and ball lightning, though the weather conditions at the time don't seem to line up with that explanation, leaving the Bell Island boom as a scary mystery. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But I've been Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.